Manisha J. Rogers, minister, entrepreneur, and author of the Healing Network book series, states the key to believing, receiving, and maintaining our healing is found in our network, which consists of the FAR principle: faith, action, and relationships. She reminds us that God still heals. He healed before, He is healing now, and He will heal again. So now is the time to believe, receive, and maintain your healing. Get your copy today.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Network broadcast. Woo-hoo! This is July 24th, 2023. We are in the midst of a wonderful hot summer. All right, and I am excited to be on for the month of July. Yes, I know you all missed me in June. I know you did. I know you did. Honestly, I missed you, right? And I'm happy to be on this month for a special broadcast, as you've seen from the flyers. And in case you did not, tonight's theme is the brain and body connection. Wow, right? We have been talking about all things healing, every aspect of healing: mental healing, spiritual healing, physical healing. And the brain is a key component of all factors, right? Of all aspects of the body operation, which means it is integral in the process of healing or prevention of sickness and disease. So I'm happy to bring forth this topic tonight. But before we get into it, as you most of you know, and for those that don't, I am Manisha J. Rogers, minister, entrepreneur, and author of the Healing Network book, Believe, Receive, and Maintain Your Healing, which was the which was the catalyst of this broadcast, the Healing Network. So I'm so happy to bring you another broadcast tonight. And for those of you who know, do what you know we do. Shout me out in the chat. And I see you are already in the room. I see you, Darlene. Good evening. I see you, Michelle. Great to have you this evening. Good evening. Good evening, Gwen, my sister Gwen. Glad to see you in the room tonight. Um, Andra, is or Androx. I don't know the name of that handle. 0105. Good evening. Welcome to the Healing Network broadcast. I am so excited to bring another message of healing to the people of God, that we may prosper and live this life abundantly. And everyone who is in the next, hey, Carol, that's you. I didn't recognize that handle. Glad to have you on tonight. Thank you, everyone, for shouting me out. As I get ready to introduce our guest, I want to remind you of the housekeeping, and that simply is engage with us, right? This is a discussion. We want to hear from you. We want to know you're in the room. We want to know what you think, how you feel about what you're hearing, right? So feel free to put up the emojis, put up some hearts, put up some clap hands, put up a question mark, put your questions in the chat, put your comments in the chat, all of that good stuff. We hear, we learn from each other, we inspire one another, and we encourage everyone, right? So I'm looking forward to this discussion. So without further ado, I would like to move forward. Tonight's scriptural basis for this discussion is Romans chapter 12, verses 1 to 2. And it says, therefore, sisters and brothers, I encourage you in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve God's will, His will. What is His will? His good, pleasing, and perfect will. All right. And so we want to talk about things connected to the mind, and the focus will be on the brain's activities, and that connection to the body. So I have a specialist for this area, someone who is a coach, someone who is a trainer, someone who is a specialist on the brain, the body, and alignment of belief. And I just think that is so powerful. So I would like for you all to give a warm healing network welcome to our special guest today, Coach Lisa Charles. Woo!
So happy to be here. What? This is amazing.
And the cheers and everything in the chat. Yes, don't worry, everyone. I'm going to give you more details about this wonderful woman of God. How are you this evening, Lisa?
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm humbled. I'm excited to be here to talk to my new sister
Yes.
in health and healing. And let's
Yes.
see what magic we can bring
Yes.
this evening.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. I just want to greet a couple of more people. Yes, they're putting the clap hands and the the praise hands and all that good stuff in the chat for you. So happy to have you this evening. Hi, Miss Lillian. Glad to see you. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you in the studio. Welcome you all to the Healing Network broadcast. Tonight's focus is the brain and body connection, the importance of a healthy brain, and why it is important to focus on the health of the brain as well, how it impacts us, not only our mental state, of course, but also our body and how it connects with physical activity as well. So that's why I have Coach Lisa this evening with us. And I just want to read a little bit to you about who this amazing woman is. I mean, I am just so blown away that God connected us the way He did. So let me just bring up her bio. I just had it and I lost it. Okay, here we go. So, the phenomenal Lisa Charles is a federal prosecutor turned singer, actress, wellness expert, certified health coach and consultant, and professional speaker. I mean, I could just stop there, but I have to go on because this is amazing. She serves as a fitness wellness research coordinator. She served as that for the Rutgers University Aging and Brain Health Alliance and is the CEO of Embrace Your Fitness LLC and the author of Yes, Commit, Do, Live. She successfully directed her struggle with temporary vocal loss that into personal growth by shedding 77 pounds without dieting. My God. Let me repeat that again. She successfully directed her struggle with temporary vocal loss she directed that into personal growth by shedding 77 pounds without dieting. So we look forward to hearing all about that. This ignited in her the zeal for fitness, which cemented her understanding of the brain-body connection. And it prompted her to create a life based on passion. Today, as a brain, body, and belief alignment specialist, Lisa empowers individuals to let go of their limiting beliefs, embrace who they truly are, and break through any age limiting barriers by allowing them to experience wellness from her top down, inside out approach. Doesn't that sound like the Healing Network, that holistic approach? In addition to her consulting business, she runs an international women's mastermind organization called the Reinventing the Woman Tribe. And she hosts transformational global retreats to heal, ignite the brain body connection. It's a wellness revolution. And I'm so excited to have the wellness revolutionary here tonight, Coach Lisa Charles. Yes, amazing. Everybody's like, that's amazing. Wow, right? So you all know why I'm so excited to have this beautiful woman here tonight to share with us all about the brain and body connection. So let's get started with this discussion. As I mentioned earlier, the basis of this discussion, I use Romans 12, 1 and 2, because it speaks about presenting our bodies, right? Which is sacrificing our bodies for the good. And it talks about the renewal of the mind. Right. And I think that's a twofold thing there. I think when you talk about the renewal of the mind, it's a new way of thinking, right? And from the biblical perspective, it's embracing the God thought life. And who better to train ourselves to think like than the one who created us, the one who knows all about us, who knows all about how these bodies are supposed to operate. Why? Because he's the master. He's the one who created these bodies. So I think it's befitting to use this as a basis for this discussion, because that's what we want to do, right? We are presenting our bodies to God for God to do the work in us of when we submit ourselves, to renew ourselves. And with a renewed mind, you tend to think about what matters to God, right? Absolutely. What matters to God is that we are good stewards over this body. And if we're going to be a good steward over this body, we have to think of every aspect of the body. And one of the key organs in this body that controls everything else is the brain.
Correct.
And I looked up the brain. I looked up the definition of what is the brain. I'm just going to share a little, and I'll let Lisa impart more information on that. But when we look at the definition of the brain, I mean, Britannica says it's a mass of nerve tissue in the anterior end of an organism, right? So we're an organism. The end of that is the head where the brain sits. And the brain integrates sensory information and directs motor responses, the body. In higher vertebrates, it is also the center of learning, the renewal of the mind, right? And the human brain weighs approximately 3 pounds, is made up of billions of cells called neurons. And it goes on to say how these neurons and electrical, what they call synapses and all of that good stuff, transmitting between neurons next to the brain, the process ends up being a critical component for learning, memory, thought, and cognitive activities. But not only that, I like Webster's dictionary because it talks about how the brain is composed of neurons and supporting and nutritive structures that integrate sensory information from inside and outside. Sounds like what Lisa does. The body, and controlling autonomic function, such as heartbeat and respiration, in coordinating and directing correlated motor responses, and in the process of learning, compare the different areas of the brain, the forebrain, the hindbrain, and the midbrain, right? But I've also learned in looking at different things that it impacts our mood, our blood pressure, our feelings, so many things, if not everything, can looking at the body. When I looked up what the mind means in the biblical reference that I shared, the mind means the intellect. It means divine or human in thought, feeling, or will, implication of meaning, understanding. To be so changed that the spirit which governs the mind is renewed, right? So we're looking at intellect. We're looking at what impacts our emotions. We're looking at how it impacts us physically, the rest of the body, the other organs of the body, which is why it's critical the work that Lisa does with the connection between physical activity, physical wellness, health and wellness, and the focus on making sure this organ inside this skull is intact and is healthy.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel, my little bit of information just to
I
set
love
the
it.
tone.
That's setting the stage perfectly because you have all of those components. And then we have to see how does that really work and how does that mean something to us in our life.
Yes.
So I want to share a story with you.
Yes.
This is my story. I call it Young Lisa's story.
Yes.
Lisa of two worlds, right? And this is going to be how the mind, the brain functions and its impact on your entire life. Mm-hmm. So Lisa in first world, super happy most of the time. They called me Mary Sunshine. I just had a disposition that my dad said out of the 5 kids, I was the only one that had a nickname, and the nickname was good. And in my street, all the kids would play. We'd all play in the middle of the street after school. And I was the only kid on the block that had a nickname. And I remember I would run down the hill and the kids would all cry, Mac, Mac, Mac. And I would feel, I cannot tell you, I feel like $1 million, like I was loved, I was accepted on a whole other level, maybe also because no one else had a nickname. And I remember how great that made me feel until it didn't. So Lisa, in the second part of this world, one day, 9 years old, sitting in the front seat of the car with my parents before you had seatbelt laws. I'm sitting between the two of them. And on Aaron, one of 5, having both my parents for me. I felt good that day. But I remember being in the car and there was another highway on the opposite side. And I saw this massive silver truck. I'll never forget because I remember the sunlight bouncing off of it. And in the front of the truck was the words Mac, M-A-C-K. I'd never seen that before. You don't see till you see. And that picture of the bulldog. And in my mind, in one instant, I realized that those kids that I thought were so supporting and they were my friends and they thought I was so special were calling me fat. I was big, but I didn't think myself big till I saw the truck. And I didn't think myself that way till I saw my eye through the lens of somebody else. And I can remember I changed. I didn't run down the hill anymore. Started hiding myself in baggy clothes, hats. Did my first diet at age 9, which was 2 bananas and a gallon of water a day. And I lost weight, and I remember people saying, wow, that's so good. You look so good that you did. And what I heard was, I'm defined by the digits. That when they're lower, people complimented me. They accepted me. They gave me more opportunity. That it meant something more. It was an imprint in the mind, and it was an imprint that created almost like a prison for me, because I had this thought that I was represented by the digits, I call it the LBSs, the digits. When they were up, I didn't feel as good about myself. When they were down, I felt really good about myself. I couldn't know how to sustain it. So for 30 years, I'm living young Lisa's view given to me by somebody else. And unknowingly, well, if you think of any jail cell, people go out. If you're, when I was a prosecutor, I went to a lot of prisons, and you can go out, go in the yard, you go to, you can be proficient in a job in the prison, but you go back to your cell at night. And what I didn't realize until it really came to me, how you can get to a point where you can step out from whatever's trapping you, but also stay out. And if there's anything that my life's work, what I do, why I'm so passionate about what I do, it is finding the hidden prisons that you may be in. It's like your little hidden Groundhog's Day. You're just doing the same thing over and over again, yielding the same negative result. And then you're sitting and setting your mind to continue the negativity. The mind is so powerful. If it is for good, there's no limits upon what you can do. If you know who you are, there's nothing that can stop you.
Right.
If you have things, fears, negative thoughts, old memories, but it really feels like it's just fresh when it comes. I used to say the triggers for me, and I don't know if anyone relates to this, but like for a long time, until I really took the time to deal with this, my triggers were the mirror, the hidden mirror, some mirror showing me side view, something I didn't see that I didn't want to see. It would be the mirror. It would make me feel really not great about myself. It would be clothes that didn't fit that should in my mind. But most importantly, it'd be the scale, because the doctor would say, get on the scale, and I'd be estimating my weight for a very long time. And I'd be estimating incorrectly. Okay. But it would be those things that I had this fear. Now, interestingly, I was still doing all my professional things, and I was fly in my professional work. So I loved what I did, from being a prosecutor and working with victims of crime and helping them to move to another side. But I give that story to let you know that each person has some hidden things. Sometimes they're really hidden, sometimes they're low, they're under cobwebs, thoughts that don't serve you, fears that stand in your way. And what I realized was, to really get to this brain body connection, you had to get into the first stage of like this committing to finding out the things, hidden pains, hidden thoughts, hidden fears, bringing light. And then at the same time, finding the most incredible things that make you truly who you are. And it has nothing to do with anybody else, even if you have a beautiful family. It's nothing to do with your family. It's nothing to do with your friends. It has to do with what was put in you when you were born. And those things are the ways that you can start to retrain your brain from negative to positive. It's the way that you can make new synapses and new neuron connections and build all. If something hasn't been serving you and it was a negative connection, you can break negative connections and create new neuron connections for your entire lifetime. But first, you got to know who you are. You got to ask that question: who you are and whose you are. If you don't ever ask it, I'm going to tell you, you're living someone else's interpretation of you, well-meaning or not well-meaning. It's just not fully, authentically you. And that was the biggest aspect of just, and I love talking about that because sometimes people say, okay, well then, all right, let's just get right into the brain science. And I say, well, the brain science says you have to know and come at a place of knowledge. You cannot come waiting for answers from the outside in. And it is one of the sometimes messy, uh, dramatic, painful, enlightened, but it is a journey that will change the direction of your life because you will confront the things that you didn't want to confront. You will find healing and forgiveness for the things you need to heal and forgive. And then you're going to be, in a way, ready to really do the work.
Mm.
So that's why I always say commit is that's that first step. And it's a biggie. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Shawshank Redemption, but Tim Robbins it's a prison thing, and he has to claw his way through, and then he has to hit an old pipe, and he has to go out this messy way until he gets out to the river, until he gets out to fresh water. But sometimes we have to do that kind of work internally. So we can get to the water source, the fresh air source, the place, however you want to see it, the place where we were always meant to be. But now we're there with knowledge of anything that might be standing in our way and any of the reasons why we might do a certain action that we know is not good for us, but we still do it, right?
Right.
Right. So getting yourself ready for that is first and foremost so important. But then you get to the next stage, which is the do stage. And this is where you really hit, how do I, if I know who I am and I know that, and I'm really grounded, and yes, someone said, Lisa, who are you? I would tell you that I'm a woman of God. I would tell you that I'm a woman of compassion, trust, honesty. These things are values. So I'm going to pull out all the values of who I am, right? And I can talk about my loves and my passions, and you're going to be so full and understanding of the fact that it's in that zone that healing comes. It's in that zone that you'll find love, first love internally, understanding yourself, and then you have that beautiful capacity to give love to others, right?
Lisa, let me cut in there for a second. Someone mentioned that there's feedback. If you can let us know, Gwen, like what is the feedback, and can anyone else let me know if you're getting feedback? I want to make sure you can hear well and you're not missing any information before we move forward, because I think this is critical, especially starting with what you're referring to with identity.
Yes.
Knowing who you are, and then that moving to self-love, right? In order to want to change and to be your best self, you have to love yourself. And it starts with knowing your identity. I'm not hearing it when you speak. So
when you speak or when I speak?
I think it's when you were speaking, there might have been a little. Does anyone else hear it when Lisa's speaking? Are you getting any feedback? If you can put it in the chat, if anyone besides Gwen is hearing the feedback when Lisa speaks. Yes, I'm getting feedback. So when you were speaking, I don't know what you can do on your side.
Yeah, let me see if I will just change my audio. And
it's not everyone.
Okay, it's not everyone, but
okay. Even with the oh, I hear something now. I don't know what you just did now.
Is this better or not better? I just changed my audio.
Okay. If you all can let her know if that's better, you can continue speaking, Lisa, and then we'll.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay.
Okay, so you're good.
Yeah, I love the idea of seating it the way it needs to be seated. I will say, even going through and listening, for those that don't know, I had an opportunity to work at Rutgers University and their Aging and Brain Health Alliance. And this is after me personally finding this way of self-love, of working on these things I'm talking. I don't say anything I didn't do myself. I worked on myself. I worked on understanding those principles of who I truly am. And then I worked on exercising those principles so I could cement this person, this authentic Lisa, this one that took, yes, the hurt world of little Lisa, that Mary Sunshine. I could bring her back into this world that had the practical things and practical people that do some things that aren't so nice sometimes, but that doesn't define the world. And I could merge the two together, process. And what I found was just in my own healing, and then really getting into the fitness world, and then getting into the health coaching world, and then now really working with neuroscientists, I'm like, okay, there's all of this that's really happening in our environment. And I used to find, and if anyone has found this for themselves, there'd be people I would meet and they would say, I'm just a procrastinator and I don't know why. And they can't finish, I just can't finish this. Or they had, similar to me, something with weight and they were up and down the scale for many years and they didn't know why. They just didn't understand. They would self-sabotage, is a quick word people say. I had to self-sabotage myself. But here's the thing. I always challenge people when they say things like that, because that just means there's room for you to understand what's going on. And there's a reason why we do things. And they're so seated in our cells and in our memory cells. And you did such a great job of talking about what's in our short-term memory, what's in our long-term memory. We have very long-term memory. And if you've had something that really is the key reason why you don't complete projects. And it could have happened when you were young, could have been something someone said, could have been some experience you have. If you don't confront it and reseed it in a different way, you will find you repeat things over and over. It is critical, one thing, not to call yourself something. So you don't call yourself a procrastinator. You don't call yourself broke. You don't call yourself fat. You don't call yourself these things we don't call other people, but we'll call ourselves, because the brain wants to do what it is you tell it to do. Really does. So if you tell it you're broke, you're fat, you're whatever the horrible things you say, it will assuredly make sure that you stay and you do exactly what you just said, that you will stay broke, that you will stay with a weight problem, you will stay with those things because you have said it.
There's death and life in the power of the tongue.
Power of the tongue. And think about, and it's so written throughout the Bible about what the tongue can do and the about ability to listen. And if you don't listen, what gets in the way? I mean, I think about sometimes Peter, and he would just say things, because he wasn't listening, right? But the ability to listen and to really hear is something that the brain does too. It is truly listening to the words you say, and then it will help you to stay in the lane that you create for yourself. So a simple little test, and it's a wonderful little 30-day challenge I would give to everyone here, is every morning when you wake up, you look in the mirror and you say, I am beautiful. And you look at it. I don't care if you don't feel it. I don't care if you're in the back of your mind, you're saying, no, you're not. I don't care what you feel. What you're doing is you're training the mind, and it wants to follow what you say. And to me, beautiful is so much not just on the surface, it is internal. I am beautiful means I'm beautiful inside and out. To be beautiful inside and out means you work on those things that make you really a great person, right? Someone that can show that light. And so saying that 30 days, I will guarantee you it will make a difference, not only in how you perceive, but what other people see and how you show up. It will start to influence so many other things in your life that you will be shocked and surprised. I couldn't even name all of them because they're small, they're things that are unique to you, but it'll be this reseeding and this resetting of how you see yourself. And then you can start to add other dimensions to exactly what you say about yourself, and your brain will follow suit. It speaks to us and it listens. And so when you have, something that's a negative thought that loops in several times, it actually works with that negative thought. So if you ever noticed, if you have a negative thought, then there's the emotional side, the limbic system of the limbic side of the brain that kicks in. It's very emotional. We need that because we need to be emotional sometimes to respond. The emotion gets us ready, our heart palpitating when we need to run or there's something happening. So it's not something that you want to tamp down. You don't want to lead your life by your limbic system because it's too emotional. It doesn't let that thought process come in. So when you allow yourself really just a few seconds of thought with breath, you can also just even the balance between the thinking mind and the overall sensitive mind. And that is just one of those little hacks, those tips, as you start to really understand what's happening. So a negative thought comes to your mind. I don't know. I used to, I was a prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, and I had my youngest son. He was 2, and I had a fortunate daycare. It was federal daycare, and he was right across the street. I was always late. I was always late. I didn't want to be late. I would try not to be late, but other people would come in and one day I was in court and the judge said, "We're going to stay here until whenever we are, until this hearing is done." And I had 5 minutes to get to pick my son up before I was late. So I had to go up in front of the court. I was the only female on this case. And I had to tell the judge in a whispered thing, I have to go pick my son up from daycare. So there were so many levels and layers of me feeling I'm unprofessional, I'm not a good mom, and it would play with me. So I would pick him up late. The poor daycare people would be their coats on. They wanted to go home. Totally understand that. They have a family. My son's with his coat on outside with them waiting for me to come out. And I would get a negative thought like, you're not a good mom. Just simple little negative thought. Then what the brain does is it says, yeah, you were late 5 times last month. Boom, never another thought. Boom. Remember when the lady said, wow, can't you be on time? I have my own family. Now I have this other, I have triple thought, 4 thought, 5 thought. Now it starts to spiral in and that emotional brain gets in. And then you start feeling some kind of way. Feeling unworthy. I'm not like my mom. I wish I could be, whatever thoughts you start to put in there, it will give an emotional response. And before you know it, that'll be your routine. And your brain will just abide with what you want. So the next time you're late on something, all those things will come again. And adding another 2 or 3 layers. So the way that you have to work through is that first commit. I love working with people on dissecting thoughts and getting through so we can actually change that, what was once negative, into something that's either neutral or adding positive layers. Because I can say to anyone, I don't care who you are, whatever that negative thought loop record that's playing in your mind, there's so many untruths you're telling yourself because you always say something like always, never, I can't, and they're very broad statements. And they're 99.9% overstated. So going through that process of really recognizing the negative thought, dissecting it, and then replacing it with 5 positive thoughts for the 1 negative, you can change the trajectory of this brain and how you do things. And once I figured that out as a coach, I said, wow, this is wonderful because people come in, they want to get, whatever their goals are, it's so gung-ho, they're ready. And then they reach that 3-week mark, which is really the kiss of death for most people, and the 3-week thing. And then suddenly something's come up, or they have other things, or they self-sabotage, and they don't know why. And to really give yourself this, I say it's a gift. It's that you know why, and then you know how not to do it. It's a power that we have. It's a power that I believe God gave us, because that's why he has so many passages in there, like with the mind, renewing the mind. He's given us the power to do it. But we say renew the mind and we think it's just, well, okay, I'll just say some positive things. No, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to do the work, but you can renew the mind. And that to me is the greatest thing. Because once you're there, then when we talk about doing things, boy, all day long you'll do them. Because you know you're pouring this love on yourself. You're working the love inside. You're giving love out. That's reinforcing the love that comes back in. It's a circular motion of love. It's making you strong from the inside out. So if I say to you in that state, boy, did you know when I went to the neurology department, they said the most important thing out of all things, the most important thing out of all things for brain health was sleep.
Mm.
And you instead you wouldn't say, "Oh, well, I'm just one of those people that don't sleep." I say, No. I see the scans and I see what your brain could look like if you don't sleep.
Or it said that they don't need that
Yeah, I don't
much
need sleep.
sleep. Yeah.
Yes. Is there anyone here? I really love to hear it because if someone says, I love when people tell me that, I'm just one of those people. I don't need any sleep. And I say, well, if you, oh, they said, if you allow yourself to go through a brain scan to see exactly what's happening to your brain, I'm going to venture to say that it's almost as if it's what you put in on the front end is what you get on the back end. So for sleep, this is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. So if we don't talk about too much, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Sleep, if you allow yourself the gift of sleep, and when I think about the Bible, you think about the times when Jesus would fall asleep on it. He would allow sleep. Sleep was something that happened, right? If you allow yourself the gift of sleep, what you're gifting yourself is a longer life of being clear with clarity, of being able to function at a higher level. Because what you do now will pay dividends 20, 30, 40. I don't know how old people are here, 50. Well, I don't know how old people will live. Okay, people can live whatever they want to live, but it will pay dividends all the way through your life. And one raucous bad night of sleep can show itself on a brain scan. Wow.
Wow. That's
one, just one. How many times have people had one night where I said, I didn't sleep at all? Oh.
Say that again in case someone missed that.
One poor night of sleep would show itself on a brain scan. That to me blew me away. And when I was in the neurology symposiums and they were talking about sleep as if it was everything, and I'm thinking, my goodness, I have been a fitness trainer. I've been a personal trainer. I have been a health coach. I've been in the business. I've gone to so many health conferences, and sleep is mentioned, but it is never the top of the list. It is just a throwaway. Hey, get some sleep. Or if I said, how many hours should you sleep? Most people say 8 hours. Okay. Do you sleep that? No. Try harder. To see, I'll give you an imagery. This is what sleep looks like. It really is so true. So I thought you should, it's such a wonderful job of describing all of the areas of the brain and the synapses and the neurons. And so if you can think about this, so here's your brain. And let's just say for a moment that you host the Christmas dinner of the century. It is amazing. You have all your family, they're in your kitchen, you cook everything that you nice and healthy, but you cook a lot of food. People consume and you say, don't clean up, just leave the food out. And you leave the food out and it's out there for 3 days. And I just want you to think in your mind, if you just close your eyes for a minute, what would it look like for 3 days? What would it look like in the kitchen if you left the food out? Now, when you didn't clean any dishes, you didn't do anything. What would it look like for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months? Go in there in 3 months. So no one wants to go in there because the smells, whatever else is in there, I can see it, right? There's growths and things like that happening in your brain. Here's the thing. When you sleep and you go through all the stages of sleep, and I speak a lot. I had a chance to speak actually in Paris on sleep, so I'm passionate about it. But when you sleep and you go through all of the stages, and you go through that last stage, that REM sleep, rapid eye movement, and the deep sleep, this is when the brain gets cleaned out. This is when all of the waste product gets removed from all of those synapses and all those neurons and the connections, and so that you don't have tangles that form in your brain. You hear about tangles for people that have Alzheimer's and dementia. And so it gets clear and you're able to restart again. It is when your thoughts, okay, so I'm seeing Michelle and Gwen and Linda, and I can remember these names and I can remember this experience. And then I go to sleep and then it becomes a part of my permanent memory. So when all of this happens, and it only happens when you sleep all the way through. So it was really insightful for me in Rutgers because it was all African American study. It was an African American study. And we were looking at why are African Americans twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't know if you knew that. Why are African Americans sleep 2 hours less than any other ethnic group?
That's important to share because we see it a lot in this day and time.
It is one, and I venture to say most people know somebody. If you don't know any of your family, you know somebody close to you that has it in their family. It is so prevalent. It is growing at huge dimensions globally, but really in the States, rapidly, Alzheimer's and dementia. And if you know anyone that has it, it is a very sad disease. It is everything that Manish was talking about. It's stripping away those things. It's stripping away your knowledge of self. It's stripping away your memories, your long-term memories, and your short-term memories. And then you don't know who you are. And it's the saddest thing. So for me, a lot of, this brain-body connection is talked about how to get the mind, that you understand what's important and that you're really focused and that you can be present and that you can love in the ways that you should love. But then in the do side, that you're taking care of this connection between the brain and the body by allowing the greatest gift you can give yourself is sleep. Like, please sleep. Know that it's as important. And if you can think of it like that kitchen 3 weeks after no cleanup, and that's what you're doing to your brain, and then the next day you're trying to tell your brain, show up, why don't I remember? I walked in a room and I don't remember, you get mad at yourself, but you're not doing the things, the simple things.
That's good. That's good.
That your body's just asking. I always say, like, you're not asked that much, really, this gift we've been given. We're not required to do that much. It's not a heavy burden for us to say, let me do the things that I know will take care of this beautiful instrument we've been given, this short time that we're here in the flesh. But we've been given this, and all we need to do is understand the mind and tend to the thoughts that might be standing in our way, and then appreciate the small things like sleep, like movement, like fueling the body that we can do that are going to really seed our body in a way to keep us as healthy as we are meant to be.
Let's talk about those other components you just mentioned as well. But before we do that, you mentioned how you were able to, your bio says that you were able to lose 77 pounds without dieting. So would you say that this mental or this emotional or just identity recognition, and then the mental work and emotional work was the key to that? What was it that got you to this success in becoming a healthier you? Because it's not just about the amount of weight loss. No. It's about being healthier, which the weight loss contributed to. But what got you there?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked that, because up until my transformation, I really thought that it was just being on a diet that would get me there. And I've come to realize that diet for me stands for die internally each and every time, because there's a piece of me that died every single time because it was a setup for failure. And every time I failed, I felt bad about myself in some kind of way. And I don't care if it was during the time that I sang at Carnegie Hall, for heaven's sakes. I did a lot of things. I could feel good. It wasn't like I was down, we know this. You can be sad on a certain thing, but you can be royally doing a lot of things. But I was up and down the scale, and I did not know why. And it wasn't until I had an incident where I had a vocal challenge. I wasn't singing professionally. And it was my anniversary. We were going to go out. I couldn't wear anything, couldn't find anything that fit me. And I was sick. I knew I was sick, but I wanted to go because of my anniversary. It's silly. Let's go to the restaurant. But I was pretty sick. So by the time I got to the restaurant, I was really sick. By the time I got home, I had to go to the hospital. That's how sick I was. And it was at the hospital that once they were able to stabilize me, I had to get on the scale. Remember that thing I said in I hadn't weighed myself in years, as my cousin would say. And the scale was telling me numbers I had not even dreamed. I weighed over 215 pounds. I'd never been there. I never would have guessed that. And I was devastated, but all I said to myself was two things. I said, after my shock, when laying in the hospital, I said, I'm not going to go on a diet. So I said, I promised myself I'm not going to go on a diet, right? And I'm going to find out something about myself. I want to know why. Those are the only two things I started the whole process with. It was a 7-month process for me. And it was exactly what you said, me looking into understanding why I do what I did, why. But the do side of it, which was actually so much fun. I say that word because everyone that I know and that I worked with, and I've worked now with hundreds of people, that they would come in with this drudgery, like, I gotta lose weight. It's like, it's so bad, like, you don't understand. I'm like, okay, I understand. Actually, I do understand. But it doesn't have to be a drudgery. So I embarked on two things that were instrumental for me. One was I wanted to understand food and how it affected my body. And for me to do that, I really went through to actually look at every food, how I felt, what it made me feel like. Because I used to have stomach aches. I don't know if anyone ever had that. I had a lot of stomach aches. One would think that you would say, having a stomach ache, why are you having this? That's not healthy. But it never dawned. I didn't put those two pieces for years. So now I would say, what makes me feel really energetic? What makes me feel great? And I committed to move. I didn't say I had to run. I didn't say I was going to do. I wanted to find something I enjoyed. That's it. And I would do it consistently. So it's every day I'm doing something. Walking. Right there with you. Lift one foot up. I loved walking. I loved dancing. I started doing Zumba. I was in a class. I was still, I guess I maybe had lost about 50 pounds. I still had some other pounds, but I wasn't like obsessing on it. And I wasn't waiting until the end. I wasn't waiting until I lost 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, and then I'll get a dress.
That's good.
I was fabulous all the way through. I would go out. I would love on myself. I would appreciate whatever it is my body was doing. I was on a marvel that your body will take care of itself. It will land where it wants to land. It will stay there. It will soft land. It will be beautiful. And you will never have to obsess on what the pounds are, what this is, because your body will go to the place where it's most comfortable and where it really wants to function. It functions at a high level. And all you need to do is continue to, right after sleep is exercise. You got to move your body. It's the way we move the circulatory system. It's all that blood rushing throughout, top down, inside out in your body to allow your body to operate.
That was the other question I had. How does the physical activity impact the brain?
Well, the study that we were doing in Rutgers was just that. If I could have and it was all seniors, 60 and older. So we had I had one lady that was, oh, she was 98. I just loved her to death. What? So they were moving officially with us in the study and checking the heart rates and all of that twice a week. And then they had another day to do walking. So we were monitoring steps and we were monitoring that. And they would take the MRI at the beginning of the study and an MRI at the end of the study. And what they saw was really miraculous. Like, you could create these new neural pathways. You could have a healthier looking brain. They did testing, card testing and other types of testing that they would do, games and things like that they would do before you started the program and after, and saw such a marked improvement. And that's not a whole lot of exercise, but it was really wonderful. And, in conclusion, they were really looking at, it is the circulatory system. It is really on the micro level, microvessels and vessels, and allowing the brain to really be nourished in that way is part of the equation. So if you know that, and I can say that definitively from the study, then if you're not moving, you're really not taking care of your body. There's no way around it. You have to move. Now, you didn't hear me say you had to run a marathon or you had to, swim the English Channel, but you just have to do one of the things that I came up with, and it was really wonderful because I worked in the hospital system for a while and I was training staff there. And so if you think about it, nurses, doctors, they have I have 10 minutes. So I had 5-minute fit, 10-minute fit, 2-minute fit. Like, if you had 2 minutes, run down the hallway, I will do something with you to get the body going and moving. Now the science says that you don't have to do an hour, you don't have to do 45 minutes, but you have to do segments. So if you could do 3 10-minute segments or 2 10-minute segments in a day, that's awesome. That is awesome. It is really that motion in the tissues constantly. It's brilliant and beautiful, and it's easy to do. And that's why I would always try to come up with really super fun, simple exercises you could do, but also give you some other things that if you wanted some other special equipment that you maybe wanted to invest at home. I'll just give you this one tip. If there is anyone out here that is, saying, well, I really want something that maybe could give me a little aerobic, and it's thought of as one of the best exercise piece of equipment for your body than any other exercise piece of equipment, and it's the rebounder. So if you don't know the rebounder, and I'm going to invite anyone and everyone to connect with me, and of course I'll give you a free sleep analysis and breathing analysis, but the rebounder works every cell of your body, and it's like a little mini trampoline.
Wow.
It'll change. You do 5-minute exercise on it. Is great. They equate a 10-minute segment on the rebounder to 40-minute run. 10-minute on the rebounder equates to a 40-minute run outside.
I need the rebounder.
Yes, everyone needs a rebounder. I'm telling you, I have a rebounder. I keep it in my bathroom because what I do is I'll do I'll do a 1 minute, I'll do 2. Anytime I come in there, I just jump. It is the best piece of equipment. There's no other piece of equipment can do. They did a wonderful study. NASA did it. It's a wonderful study that it's the only one that exercises you on a cellular level. Every cell of your body gets, because it has to accommodate your jumping up, and every cell in your body has to be engaged for you to come down, because it doesn't know you're going to come down on a soft surface. It has to prepare itself in case you're going to come down on cement. So every cell is engaged. It is phenomenal. That's just on the fitness side. I love to show simple things people can do in your office, at home. That's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 1 minute. Just
what I like about that is that it's achievable for anybody.
Yes.
It's not this, oh, you need to do Pilates, or you need to do this, or you need to hit the gym, or you need to get on the treadmill. Incorporating movement
yes.
in every area of our life, I believe, makes a difference, and you can tend to, it won't be such a chore, right? Like you said, drudging or begrudging
Right.
to do what we need to do to take care of these bodies.
And it can be fun.
Yes.
And do it with a friend. And I love little challenges, and I make a community everywhere I go. And I just love to put something out that then you feel so accomplished. And you do. And that's how I made the changes I did. I just was consistent. I did it every day, something. And then I felt so good about it. And I rewarded my mind with that rewarding thoughts of, wow, you said you were going to do that for a week and you did it. You said for 2, 3, 4, 5. As it went on, the rewards were even more lasting in terms of all of the hormones that were released in my body, just to feel so positive about where I was. And just using, my clothes and seeing how they were fitting, and that would just make me feel so good. And I wasn't a fitness trainer at that time, but I loved what I was doing. I had a big old toothy Mary Sunshine grin on myself in gym. And I remember a teacher was up on the big stage in this huge class, and she's like, hey, you back there in the back of the room. I'm like, you turn around like you're looking behind you. She's like, no, you come and teach this song because I know you know it. My foot hit the paint, my foot hit the wood, as I say. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. That's it. That's everything. So it opens you up to find other passions is all I'm saying. So that's not going to be everyone's passion. But for me, it's like, oh my gosh, this world of wellness and I have a different take. And I can come in and maybe help the people that have the wrong take like I used to have. And just to your point, make people feel like it's doable. You can do it.
That's amazing. I love that. I love this so much. And as we prepare to close out, which is never enough time in this broadcast, I would like to ask one more area, and then we're going to go to the comments and a couple of questions. There's the mental, the emotional. I talked about the spiritual. There's the physical.
Yes.
Can you mention something on the nutrition aspect?
Yes.
Because just briefly,
just real quick,
that can be a segment in and of itself. But
sure can.
A brief comment on that, because it was just earlier today that a health coach that I worked with previously posted on Instagram a doctor sharing how oatmeal, which was disheartening, because I'm like, we grew up on oatmeal being the healthy food, and it's not necessarily bad per se, depending on the person's health condition. But he was talking about how oatmeal is something that they feed to animals to fatten them up, and she has shared how oatmeal turns into sugar and how that impacts your body. But the reason why I bring it up is because he talked about how it impacts the brain.
Yes, sugar brain.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned. I won't belabor it too much. I would say that grain is what they feed to fatten on every livestock. That doesn't mean that they are all bad for you. I say for we talked about the brain, and maybe one day I'll come back and talk about your second brain, because your second brain is your gut, and it operates just like a brain, and it talks to you. Most people don't listen. And so a lot of what you're talking about is gut health. And so what I would say on nutrition, if you can take a moment to really understand what's happening in your gut biome and making sure that you have enough healthy bacteria. You all have, unhealthy bacteria. There's always a mix in there, but healthy bacteria. And there are so many different ways of really kind of finding out what's happening in your gut. If you are finding that you have problems on the bowel side and you're going too often, or you have cramps or you want to make sure you don't have something like leaky gut. People throw that around like, I got leaky gut. I'm like, that is perforations in your intestine. That's really serious. It's a serious thing, but a lot of people are walking around because they don't have a balance. And I say this because if you have an imbalance in the gut and you eat something like a high sugar based thing, then it's going to react in your system differently than someone that has a really well-seated gut. And they can have a little oatmeal, maybe not every day like people thought you can have it, but you can have it. It's not anything technically wrong with it. I think the bigger issue is people are walking around with some of the most unhealthy gut. Some people have parasite issues. They don't even know it, and that's also impacting how they feel, what's happening. My gut was very unhealthy when I started my whole journey, and that's why I had to reseed. The other thing I'll just say, the other really great thing, so please get an analysis of what's going on in your gut and just have the numbers, have the information. The other thing that I want you to do really simply is whatever you're eating on fruits and vegetables, you could eat more. So eat more. I mean, I know it sounds old fashioned, but the latest studies that have come out about eating the colors of the vegetables, eating vegetables that are in season, eating, maybe on a 3-to-1 basis, all the vegetables and fruit, making sure that you're staying away from GMOs, washing your fruits and vegetables because they put some really dangerous pesticides on things, and you need to make sure you're doing that. But whatever you're eating, make sure that it's a part of every meal. Vegetables should be a part of every meal. Not I had vegetables, I had this much vegetables in my dinner plate. That is not enough. So this will be a healing thing. I'm not saying it just because it's going to be a healing property for how you feel, how you sleep, how you think. It'll show up for you and help you to show up in the way that you want. But yeah, we could do a whole segment. I'm a big on the foods.
This has been so amazing. I just want to share a couple of questions that were in the chat earlier on. Cheryl asked when you were talking about the affirmations and challenging us to speak to ourselves that we are beautiful. She asked, will this work if you speak that to a child?
Oh, I think it's beautiful. But you know what's better? I think to have the child look themselves in the mirror and do it themselves. I used to do that with my son. Oh, it's on and on, you're this. And I realized, and it was nice, but it's him that has to see it for himself. And what you want to do is have him or her seed their own brain, because you can't seed them all the way, but he or she can seed their own brain. So it's a great thing to do together, though. I think that's awesome.
That is great. That is amazing. Another question was, Carol asked, what was the name of that equipment?
So it's called the Rebounder. And what I'm going to say is I'm hoping people contact me. Any shows I stay on, I'm like, you're like in my orbit. You're part of my family. So I will answer any other questions, but I might be able to get you a discount or whatever if you wanted to get a rebounder. There's so many different ones out there, and I could direct you in the ways that are best, and the ones that I know are high quality too.
That was good. Thank you so much for that. And one other is a comment by Michelle when you were talking about the importance of sleep. She mentioned that she gets disrupted sleep.
So I would almost say, and this is why I would love to do a sleep analysis with you, so please jump on, stay connected with me. One of the biggest problems, and the other statistic that I was putting forth, is that Black and brown people sleep 2 hours less than any other ethnic group. And part of the sleeping less is the second half of the sleep, which is the third and fourth stages, which are deep sleep and REM sleep, which is where all the really wonderful things happen. So disruptive sleep tells me maybe you're being disruptive in the ways that your body really needs. And so, the groups that I work with and individuals I work with on sleep, I really do a full out analysis of where you are. And then just like we did with our bodies and anything, it's incremental steps. It's not like, oh, I sleep 2 hours, now I'll sleep 8 hours tomorrow. No, it's figuring out what are the small things that we can nudge around the sides to improve, to help you to get that more restorative things. And you'd be surprised. There are some things that you are doing, maybe some simple things that you can make changes on. And if you come knowing that it's really important and you hold it as a high value for something you want to see changed, I'm going to guarantee you that you can do some things to restore that part of your health.
It's wonderful. Thank you for that. Gwen also shared a comment that she found that exercise and lightweight training helps her to sleep better.
Thumbs up for that. The only thing I would say in a caveat, make sure you don't do it too late. Don't do it too late to bed, because if you think about it, you're exercising, everything, and you're causing a lot of your systems in your body to respond to this additional stress, because exercise is a form of stress right on the body. And so it has to work a certain ways, and then it has to go back to trying to calm the state. So if you do it too late, it can interfere a little bit with sleep. It can interfere also with staying asleep or either falling asleep. So thumbs up, wonderful. Just watch the time of day you do it.
That's good. That's good. Yes, that's good. Gwen says she does it with her daughter too, talking about the affirmations. She's been doing that with her since childhood. And that's great. And remember, we talked earlier about the power in our tongues, right? So it's good in training up a child in the way that they should go to be in the practice of doing that themselves. So, Lisa, this was so amazing. Please share with everyone how they can connect with you, and then I also want you to share about your upcoming retreat.
So I'm going to give you guys a couple ways you can connect with me. So of course on my website, I'm yescoachlisa.com. Pretty easy to remember. But listen to this, and I don't normally do this, but I am going to do this because Spirit says I should. So here's my phone number, 973-704-2214. You can text me. And I am a great response to texts. And, whatever other questions you have, 973-704-2214. And I will answer your questions and would love to get to know you on that. I am, as you might imagine, quite passionate about this world mission that I believe God has put on my heart. When I wrote my book, Yes, Commit, Do, Live, it was just that. How can I give a roadmap to people to really make lasting change? It's not temporary change. There's enough out there about that. It is about something that is going to reseed your life and get you ready to live the life that you were destined to live. So I would love, love, love for people to come onto my website. Please, please, please join my email list. Any women out there, I have an amazing, amazing tribe called Reinventing the Woman Tribe. And we really talk about, this is courage, commitment, and community. And what we do, we've put together an amazing international group of women as we journey through what I call Wellness Reimagined, which is everything from how you deal with your family, your friends, your spiritual life, your business life, because it's all one life. And it really needs to make sure that you're doing it in a way that's most authentic to you, how to show up. So would love to talk. The thing you could text me on. And the last thing I would say is I have a retreat coming up in Mexico. We did an amazing retreat in the Dominican Republic. This is in Tulum, Mexico, which is a very hot spot right now. But what I love to do in retreats is for people to actually experience where you are. So you can say, not that I was in the airport and at a hotel. No, you're going to really go to the ruins. You're going to go to the cenotes. You're going to really understand the healing properties that is in Tulum. And at the same time, really get into that brain-body connectivity on a one-to-one and one-to-group level. I want, when people walk away, you walk away a different person than how you came. So because I'm here, of course, anyone that contacts me about that, having heard and having been a part of this community, gets a special discount that I would get to them, especially for this community. So be unique to you guys. I would love to have you.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is so gracious of you. Thank you so much, Coach Lisa. And so, for her to know that you are part of this community, make sure when you do reach out that you mention you were on the Healing Network broadcast so she would know. Um, and this has been amazing. Do you all have any other questions before we end the broadcast? Thank you again, Coach Lisa, for giving of your time this evening. This was such a blessing, so enlightening and encouraging to know that we can do this. We can live life well and healthy and whole, and how important it is to know our identity, to speak well of ourselves, to train these brains so that it can feed the rest of our bodies so that we can thrive in this life. Amen. So I don't see any other questions or comments. So thank you all again for joining the Healing Network broadcast. I hope you learned a great deal. I hope you've heard something that will help you to shift, to heal, and to thrive in this life. And as I always say, live this life abundantly as Jesus came to give us. So thank you again, Coach Lisa. May you have a successfully blessed experience with your retreat. May it bear much, much fruit in the lives of many. May your businesses and the call on your life grow exponentially and reap 100-fold all that you pour out to others, is my prayer for you. And may you all have a blessed evening. Remember to reach out if you need to. If you did not get the Healing Network book yet, what are you waiting for? You can find it online. You can email me for a signed copy if you would like. It's a great gift for someone because it is a tool to help people through their healing process or just to become aware that healing is possible for them. All right. So have a great evening, everyone. God bless you all. Until next time on the Healing Network broadcast. I love you all. God bless. Good night.
Right.